All right. What's up, everybody? Good morning. How's everybody doing this fine young morning? Well, it's morning for me. I don't know where you guys are. Probably somewhere in the rest of the day, because it is early here. Hey, all right, we're on. What's up, everybody? What's up, Osiris, Ariel, Daryl? What's going on? Um, yeah. So we are continuing work on the glove. This is, if this is the first time you guys are here, this is the piece that I'm working on. Let's actually look at this guy a little bit closer. So this is just a Pinterest image that I found that I had a couple of really good views of. So I was like, what the heck? Why not? Let's do this one. So this is pretty much exactly what we're going to be doing, minus a couple little smaller changes. But yeah, that's what we've been working on so far. Um, Basically what I did, just to catch you guys up real quick, is I had sculpted a hand to start with. I think it was this guy. This guy. So I sculpted this hand to begin with, and then basically what I did was I went and just selected areas and did extract. Yo, what's up, Japomo? How you doing, buddy? Um, so extracted different pieces, and yeah, I went from there, right? And then we come up with something like this, right? So we started to get into sculpting some of the major wrinkles on the inside, and we're just going to keep plugging away at this. I realized that it has been good couple of streams since I started working on this, and I'm not getting as much done on it as I would like to, so I'm going to try to focus a little bit more on doing getting some of this stuff actually done. So that's where we're at. If you were here last time, we had started working on some of these major wrinkles in here. Some of these bad boys here. I didn't like how it was turning out, so after I looked at it when I got off stream, so I basically just went back and took out these major wrinkles because I'm just going to redo them real quick. Yep, and then yeah, we've got all kinds of stuff to do today. So you guys are welcome to fire off questions if you have them. Without further ado, let's just get to work. So I'm gonna lay in probably just some of the major ones here, just to give myself a roadmap. And we're looking at something like this. Like a what? And then this guy's gonna have a similar one coming through here. We want to echo that through there. What's up, McCray? This is ZBrush on the ZBrush channel. One of the most amazing, super fantastic, fabulistic sculpting tools digital sculpting tools out there. The best. If you guys are new to ZBrush and are interested in checking it out, trying it out, right down there, right down there, there's a at least there was last time I checked, a free trial. If you guys are interested in trying out ZBrush, I would say definitely give it a whirl. If you're looking to get into video game or film industry, ZBrush is pretty much a must. It's definitely an industry standard now. And if this is your first time looking at my setup here, you'll notice there's just a crap ton of buttons. So don't be intimidated by how many buttons that you see. I have a super kind of, I guess, whacked out interface. Basically what I do is I take all of the tools that I use in the rest of the toolbox here, and then I just bring it out onto my my workspace here. Same thing over here. It's just stuff that I use all the time that's not hidden in layers. I tend to be one of those messy workers, so I don't mind that there's all these out here. It kind of like helps me remember some of the tools and workflows and stuff. Okay. So I'm going to start shaping this guy a little bit more. Kind of flares out a little bit here. A little bit more roundness there. And I think this is going to try to come up more. I may actually bring this guy out like that. There's a lot of different things that you can do in ZBrush. You can actually do modeling in ZBrush with the Z modeling tool. Yo, what's up, Asgard? How you doing, man? There's a really great brush in ZBrush called the Z Modeler brush, and you can actually do a lot of actual modeling. Alright, let's see. So I move pretty quick in between brushes. I have a couple on hotkey, and basically what you could do is if you want to follow with what I'm using at that particular second, it'll be up here. There's another reason why I bring all of this stuff out into the workspace. So I usually go between clay buildup, move topological, H polish, and dam standard. So I'll move through those 4 brushes fairly quickly. Maybe not so much on the H polish, but clay buildup, move topology, and dam standard I move through really quickly. So if you see me kind of doing something like that and then sculpting over it, it's just me moving through those brushes fairly quickly. Wolf, what's up, dude? How you doing, man? Alright, so it gives me the flexibility to be able to kind of like do some of that and then come up and do clay buildup through here and then smoothing. Okay. Like that. Yo, Chris, dude, how you doing, man? Soul Assassin, how you been doing, bud? Not me looking good? No, man, it's way too early for me to look good. Of course, my handy dandy ZBrush hat helps me with that, so thanks, Pixelogic. Ashley, what's up? How are you doing? If this is if you guys are new, Ashley is actually another one of our awesome streamers here on ZBrush Pixelogic. She also does a lot of her own awesome, amazing stuff as well. If you get a chance, make sure you definitely check her out. So a couple other hotkeys that I have are solo. Dude, the trip was awesome. You're talking about my Italy trip, right? I think you're talking about my Italy trip. It was amazing. The next project I'm going to work on after I finish this high res and kind of talk about and do the prep for game res modeling. Once I'm done with this particular one, I'm going to go and do traditional fold sculpting in ZBrush. So that's my plan for the next project after I finish this glyph. Eventually, I'm a little bit more of a measure. What do they call it? Measure twice, cut once kind of guy. There's definitely some other guys like Pavlovich. That guy is just so quick and so good. Every time I watch Pavlovich, I'm like, dude, I gotta work on being faster, man. That's good. But yeah, there's a lot of other really awesome streamers on Pixelogic that if you guys are just kind of hanging out for one of the first times, actually, I think Ashley, you're on later. Are you on later today, Ash? Yeah, a hotkey for solo is super helpful. Super helpful. The other thing that I do too is I have a hotkey for ghosting as well. So I use V in the keyboard for solo and then Shift V for transparent. Super helpful. What happened to the hair thing you were working on? I'm not sure, Asgard. I don't remember. You have to refresh my memory. I've been working on so many things lately. It's been rather crazy. Alright, this got to come over just a little bit. 5 Pacific. Sweet. That's like right when I get off work. Yeah, ghosting is awesome, man. Mostly because like I use it for when I need to sculpt underneath. Like when I'm doing something like this where I want to have a nice piece coming, like a fold coming through there. A lot of times it'll be affected by what's over it, right? So if I'm going like this, right, like my stroke basically starts there, which is really annoying. So if I just turn on ghosting, I can actually pull it through here and still see where those other pieces are. So it's super helpful when it comes to that. Alright, so I'm just laying in a little bit of the major wrinkles on this particular piece, just so I can start getting a feel for how the cloth is moving. Real-time hair tricks you wanted to show. Oh, did I? Were you talking about the hair cards I was asking a little while ago? Yeah, absolutely. What's up, ExoForge? Yeah, dude. What's up, man? How long have I been working in ZBrush? I've been working in ZBrush since... Oh, for a long time. For a long time. I started working on it back in like 2006. And then I stepped away for a while because I was working in the medical industry. And then I picked it back up full time in 2013. Why is that doing that? That's weird. H polish. That's where that comes in handy. Alright. So I always want to kind of like make sure that the far read looks good. Alright, I'm getting some of these pulls in the right areas. And I'm making sure that whenever I'm doing wrinkles and stuff, that I follow kind of like the large, medium, small layered cake effect, right? So like one of the things that really makes something look not natural is when you're doing, unless you're doing it on purpose. All rules are made to be broken, right? But if you're if you're doing something right and like you're like, oh, I'm gonna make some folds, right? So I'm gonna make one fold like this, I'm gonna make one fold like this, and then I'm gonna make one fold like this, right? So what I'm looking at specifically is the area from here to here, from here to here, and from here to here, right? That distance is just about the same, right? And this cave and this cave, right? Concavity, those are all about the same. So once you start getting into like repetition like that, it starts to look unnatural. Right, so I call this the layered cake. So what you want to do is you want to focus on making small, medium, and large shapes, right? So when I'm doing stuff like this, like for instance, I'm always thinking like, okay, this is my large piece, right? And then maybe this is my small one right here, right? And then I have a medium one that comes in through here. Alright, so now I have a large one, a medium one, and a small one. Those things tend to kind of like lend itself to more organic feel. Once you start getting away from that, it starts becoming a little bit like your eye just kind of goes, that's a little bit weird, you know. So another thing that I'm looking at too is right. This is a medium shape. This is a smaller shape. This is a larger shape, right? Does that make sense? First time to catch it live, so cool. Hey, what's up, Mendez? How's it going? Yeah, yeah, Vertigo. There's ZBrush is like there's just so many applications that you can use for it. It's crazy. Yo, boyfriend, how you doing, man? Boyfriend, you hang out in. I think I remember you hanging out from Shay. I think you hang out with Shay. I think that's where I met you. What's up, man? How you doing, buddy? Okay, so let's start integrating some of these folds through here. Right? So it's important to note that whenever you squeeze the hand, right, it's not just happening. Yeah, it was from Uni's chat. It's not just happening on one of these pieces, right? It's like happening through all of these pieces. So it's super important to make sure for cohesiveness that the folds are propagating throughout each piece, right? So here's a little trick that I like doing. I like taking advantage of the fact that each one of these subtools actually has their own history, right? You can see up here, here's the history log for each one of the subtools, right? So for this particular one, I've got that many steps, right? For this piece, right, this is the one I've been working on, it has a ton of other steps. So let's say I did some work on this particular piece that I was like, oh, maybe I didn't want to do that yet. I can capitalize on the fact that I can duplicate it and then use the other history states. Right here, I'll show you. Right, so I did this work here, but I'm like, I want to kind of go back and save a copy of this before I did that. Right. So basically what I can do is I could just go back to where I was, like this, duplicate the subtool, right? Because when you duplicate the subtool, it doesn't erase your history, right? So then now I can actually go back to the present time, and I have a new piece that was the original. Yeah, so I like being able to do that. It's really, really handy. So now I can just hide that guy, and then now I have the original piece. Yeah, there are so many different applications that you can do to this. It's freaking crazy. Yo, Jacob, what's up, dude? How you doing, buddy? So now I can freely go through and just do whatever I want to this one, knowing that I have this backup um, duplicated out here. Cheats, all the cheats, buddy, all of them. And actually, I'm probably gonna go back and either redo the stitches, because you'll see here they're actually sitting off of the mesh here. So a lot of times I'll just go through and do like a dirty round of stuff just to kind of block in to see what it's going to look like. Yeah, it's actually sitting off here too. I don't mind going back and redoing them. So anyways, I want to propagate these wrinkles going through multiple pieces here. Alright, so it's going to kind of come out and flatten out here. Russian hacker approved. Alright, so I can pull this out a little bit, and then maybe what we'll do is we'll actually kind of pull this guy in. Pull this guy in. Alright, and then we'll do some smaller little ones. Again, I'm always trying to think about that layered cake effect. Making sure that my wrinkles have a good, right, because what's bothering me right now is that, like, this is almost the exact same shape as this one, right? So I want to make sure that I can, because, and that's why it's kind of like looking a little bit weird. It's because it's the same shape, right? So if I vary up that shape, make it look a little bit more. Alright, so we'll take this out maybe, and then we'll do this way. Alright, maybe we'll do a larger entry here, and then it just kind of like propagates out like this. Alright, that already feels better. The birder, I need some coffee. So I want to make sure that, so it's usually at this point too where I get super caught into fine details. So so I always want to make sure that I'm doing right. So like first off, what you do is you put in all the major forms, right? And then you work on secondary forms. And then once all your secondary forms are nailed down, then you start working on the tertiary details, right? So I have a really bad habit of going from secondary forms to tertiary forms rather quickly because I like all of like the little details and stuff. So I try to force myself to stay on second details. Right, secondary forms. And I usually do that by keeping my my Dynamesh rather low. So it forces me to work on secondary because I don't have the topology to be able to support high res, right? So in this particular one, I actually went super high res. So I'm trying to be careful not to jump into tertiary details. Which button will make something? This is This is a hand that I sculpted on one of my gum rods. If you guys are interested in how I actually sculpt the hand, you can find that on my gum rod if you are interested. I'm not a lefty, I'm a righty. I actually do use a lot of shortcuts. All these out here are really to like help me stay in the flow, basically. I like being able to use all of my polygroup stuff right out here. I like using, extract and all of my subdivision stuff. It also helps remind me of different workflows because I tend to kind of sometimes get stuck in a workflow that I'm working on. And by having these out here, it actually helps me remember some of the other awesome stuff and workflows and stuff that I can use. So yeah, don't be intimidated by all the buttons. If you want a quick little breakdown, like basically everything in the tool palette here, right? So basically all of this is subtool stuff, right? In the subtool portion of the tools. This is geometry stuff, right? Geometry, and then polygroups, right? A bunch of polygroup stuff here. And then I always forget to use morph targets. I really like using morph targets, but I always forget. So I actually leave this out here to try to help remind me. And then my masking stuff as we go down here, and then a little bit more view stuff. And then I just have some reminders of different brushes that I use more often than not. I don't know if you can actually see them here. I've got Z Modeler, I've got some polished brushes, snake hook, displace, inflate, and then I have some of the selection brushes over here. Selection like clip and slice, and then masking brushes over here. On this side I have a little bit more tools that I try to use a lot, which is like topological, gravity, embedding, lazy mouse stuff, symmetry stuff, and then we can get into like matte cap and brushes and alphas and all that kind of stuff. And then all of this is just to remind me, I'm like, oh yeah, am I using my material? Am I using RGB? That kind of stuff. And I use Dynamesh pretty much all the time, so I like to keep that out there for switching back and forth. I'm like, oh right, this one's Dynameshed. This one's Dynameshed. This one is actually not Dynameshed. And then some visibility stuff up here. I use backface masking all the time, so I keep that out there. So that's a basic breakdown of the workspace. Okay. Questions are good. If you got questions, definitely feel free. Definitely feel free. The polish. This polish is it's actually in Dynamesh. So there's some interesting things that happen when you start throwing a lot of things out there. Is this polish actually gets replaced. This is actually supposed to be that polish, but for some reason it kind of gets messed up. But this is all the Dynamesh stuff. Cool, man. Right now, I'm working freelance. What kind of materials? That's a good. I do most of my stuff in basic material. This one here. But if I'm doing like more hard surface stuff, I'll try to do basic material too, just to give myself a little bit more of the specularity. But I usually just work in basic material. I think so, Jack Rossiter. But I mean, I don't really use it too much, so the same thing with double actually. this actually switches to extract double instead of the double that I want it to be, which is display properties. So I usually I'll make it this double, but it actually will switch to extract double, which is a little bit weird. I don't know if it's because I have so much stuff out or not. But yeah. Yeah. Okay, so I want to make sure that these secondary forms are working correctly, right? So I got one that's coming through here, right, which is going to come through here, and it's going to go up this way. Nothing too crazy, just subtle. I'm going to bulk this piece out a little bit here. Yeah, possibly 4R8. I mean, they're so minor that it doesn't really bother me. So I don't think I actually even said anything about it, but I probably should. Okay, so this is going to come down, go through here. Right, then we're going to add a little bit more. Right, we'll turn on ghosting so we can make sure that these strokes start underneath there. So yeah, I'll try to. I usually will try to keep my Dynamesh fairly low on purpose when I'm working on secondary forms, because it forces me to stay in secondary forms, because it won't hold the detail yet, right? Thunder Bunny. That was a good one, man. That was a good one. I know that was a good one. I like that. Like I said, I am a little bit more of a measure twice, cut once kind of guy. So I tend to be a little bit slower when it comes to the high res. And when I'm on stream, I tend to talk a lot more and try to answer questions and stuff. So it's a little bit. I definitely work slower when I'm streaming. If I was, all right, let's say in actual production, right? Like, how long should it take me to do this glove in real production time? Quick. Should be fairly quick. Maybe a day or so. So I'd say no more than 10 hours for the high res. Probably like maybe 6 hours. You should be able to get this out in a day. A day's worth of work. Kind of beef up this a little bit. And I'm probably going to wait until I go up higher res to do that, because I just don't have no, just high poly, just the sculpt. Just the sculpt. I would say for me, if I was going to quote this for actual work, I probably would be I could probably get it done in 12 hours of work for the final in-game piece. So that includes high-res sculpt, retopology, UV, baking, and texturing. My particular workflow is I use ZBrush for the high-res, and then I'm a Moto guy, so I do all of my UVing and retopology in Moto. So retopo in UV and Moto, and then I just changed all of my baking to Marmoset Toolbag 3. And then from there I'll do my texturing in Substance Painter too. I'm much more of a PBR kind of guy. So okay, so let's work on a couple of these little pieces over here. All right, again, I'm trying to make sure that I keep this whole layered cake effect working. So I'm trying to keep aware of shapes and the size of the shapes. Alright, so I have large here, small, medium, right? Small, medium, large, or small, medium, large, right? So I want to make sure that those stay varied in a really nice organic way. Yeah, yeah, so that's my particular workflow. So high res and then export. So where I'm going to end up on this particular asset will be getting it ready for retopologizing, and then getting it ready for high poly bake. So that's where we'll end up leaving this one, because that's where pretty much my ZBrush pipeline ends. So we'll export all of the low res, I guess. So we'll do decimation. So we'll decimate it down for and prep it for retopo. So we'll do that, and then we'll do another one, another exports for the actual bakers, and we'll do like ID map prep and all that fun stuff. Okay. So I think let's actually push this in just a little bit. Another thing that I'm trying to do too is I pay attention to all the different shadow values. So not only am I looking at the overall shapes and doing the layered cake, keeping that in mind, but I'm also looking at the because I do so why not decimate instead of just retopo? You can do both. I'm much more of for like lower game res, I like being able to handle all my topology by hand, making sure that like all of my edge loops are right where I want them. I just retopo by hand. It's a little bit easier for me, and you have a lot more control over the final game res mesh. So yes, you can just do retopo, but I tend to do it by hand because I have a whole lot more control, and especially for something that is a smaller piece. This is going to be rather low res, right? And I want to be able to capitalize on topology and edge loops that will hold and form with how the glove is actually working. So it's a little bit easy. It's easier for me to do the topo by hand, and it's not a huge retopo project, so it won't take that long to do. That, and I can focus on how my UVs are going to be broken up as well. Okay, so the other thing I was talking about was shadow values, right? So not only am I looking at the actual shapes and making sure that they're spread out well, I'm also looking at the shadow values, right? So I'm looking at what is this value here versus this value, right? So I'm trying to look at the subtle shapes. And this is another reason why I work in just the basic material, is because it gives me good shadow values, right? So what I was missing here was this really nice kind of fall off, right? So if I go back to this, right, you see how it was like really flat, right? I'm only looking at this curvature here, right, and this is really flat. So I wanted to make sure that I had something a little bit more rounded, right? So I'm always looking at right, what are the shadow values here? Like how dark does this get versus how dark does this get, you know, and how dark does this get? So it's not only just a shape, but it's also a depth layered cake that I'm keeping in mind as well. It really helps with subtle forms. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm not just spouting off a whole lot of yeah, Jacrossiter. Since the baking came out with Toolbag 3, I've completely replaced my whole pipeline with it. It's so good. So good. Retopoing by hand. I didn't even mean to do that. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, so this here, so again, frequency of detail is another thing that I try to keep in mind, right? So like places for your eyes to rest versus high frequency detail versus medium frequency detail, right? So like here we've got really not a whole lot going on, and then we got a lot of high frequency detail, and then we've got not a whole lot going on, right? Not a whole lot going on, more like medium detail, that kind of stuff, right? So I'm trying to make sure that I keep track of, like, it's not just everywhere, you know what I mean? A good balance of detail. So that's another reason why I want to make sure that this in here is a little bit more smooth, because this will hold a lot more of, alright, if I'm looking at the reference here, this area will hold a lot more of this really nice minute detail, where this is like a little bit more of the larger detail, I guess you could say, right? So here we can see like all the little dimples and stuff in the leather, the pores and everything. So I try to keep areas for that. And it actually looks like I'm losing the shape of the thumb a little bit. So I kind of want to make sure that I'm not losing the overall shape when I'm doing this. That's better. And again, I'm looking at this shadow fall off, right? So that was one of the things that was making it a little bit weird. Hey, Lion, English, please, if you don't mind. Okay. Alright, so let's, now that I have that, I want to make sure that I have most of the secondary forms out here. Okay. So I have, right, so this large piece is coming in through here, so it's actually going to be a little bit of a break through here, like this. Right, so that'll hint that it's actually going over that particular piece. So it's nice. We'll do that. Okay. And we're going to start doing a little bit of, right? Right, so where does, so let's say you don't know exactly, so your reference is like, oh well, it doesn't show this area very well here, right? So then you're like, all right, well, what the heck do I do there? So start thinking about, especially for cloth, is all about pressure points, or I guess you could say, what do you want to call it? Fold lines and anchor points. Yo, Uni, what's up, girl? How you doing? Unicorn Dev is another one of our awesome streamers. Definitely check her out as well. Boyfriend, I actually think you may like Unicorn Dev's streams. You should definitely check her out. So one of the things is you want to think about like where things are pulling from, right? Where's the tension happening, and then where are the folds happening? Thunder Bunny. No, I usually don't. I usually don't sneak stuff in there, but I should, you know. Oh, things are good. Like if I do something like this and just be like, oh. Something like that. So anyways, I want to know where the tension is coming from, right? So like through here, you know, like the question is, does it go this way, right? Or does it go this way, right? So you always want to think, I'm like, okay, well, if I was going to be ship it. If I was like actually doing that with my hand, right? I think there would be for a glove, right? So like you're pulling the glove this way, right? So I think some of the tension would happen this way, but I also think that because this is an area where you're doing a lot of movement, that there would be a lot of smaller little creases coming through here, right? So like once you start kind of thinking about how that works, some of those decisions make a little bit more sense. Right, because you're not going to have stuff like this, right? That doesn't make sense, right? Because the tension point is back through here, and then the folding is like through here, right? So you wouldn't have some kind of bend like that, right? You probably have a lot of creasing coming through here. And again, I'm purposefully staying in low res so that I don't get carried away with the smaller little details. Right, so maybe we have a big one coming through here. And then it just falls off kind of quickly. So if I'm looking at this here, it actually doesn't have a whole lot going through here. I would think that there's more, but there's actually more coming through this side. And the interesting thing too here is like if you're looking at this one, I probably wouldn't have guessed that some of these fold lines were coming down more. I actually would have thought they would come up this way. But in this particular glove and whatever this particular material is, it's actually doing something different, which is interesting. Okay. Okay. Alright, so let's start building some of the major wrinkles that come through here, right? So we saw some of those like propagating up. No, the other way. Sorry. They actually come down this way. And again, I want to make sure that I have some of these varied. And that they're matching some of the other pieces here, right? So I want this fold to be able to kind of come through here. Turn on ghosting, pull this up through here like this. There we go. So now it looks a little bit more cohesive, right? Because we have this propagating through this particular piece and this piece. And then these are actually going to be quite larger coming through here, looking at, we're going to have silhouette breakup through here. Not crazy amounts, but enough to really like deepen those shadows that I'm looking at, right? So from my far away read, I want to make sure that those shadows are deep enough that it reads as a pinching area, right? And I probably should save the rest of it for when I res up. At least want to get, yeah. Because a lot of these ones are a little bit smaller, like I'm looking in through here. So this is probably where you would break some of that layered cake effect, right? So you'll notice that the height of this particular fold is very, very close to this one. It's not quite, right? So we've got really, really, really thin, a little bit bigger, just a touch bigger, and then like varied, right? Varied. So it's interesting. So even though like your first read is like, oh, those look the same, if you look really, really closely, super small, a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger, right? Interesting. Okay, so let's just map those out real quick. So I feel like we got the super small one. You know what? Let's just do this. So sometimes I'll actually go in and just use this see-through and lay the model like almost directly over it. Just to make sure that I have the sizing right, you know? Right, it looks like my folds actually are starting a little bit too low, right? Because it's starting like a little bit more down there. Right? Yeah, this is really helpful too for when you're doing like very specific stuff. So if you're following a concept, you want to make sure that you can get your silhouettes correct, right? Like overall proportions, super quick and easy to do it this way. All right, so we have just the small one. All right, we got a little bit bigger. You know, I may have to like knock most of this stuff out. So let's do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this trick where I went back in time. It's not cheating. It's using the tools that you have at your disposal. It's not cheating. Alright, and then I'm going to duplicate this and then go back to present time. Alright, so I kind of want to keep this one, but I'm going to go through and then just completely deconstruct this here. I'm just going to smooth all this out. So now I can go back to this one if I really need it. Okay, so I've got all right. And let's see. Sometimes this is a little bit more trouble than it's worth. Let's say something like that. Alright, so then I have this one, I've got this one, I've got this one, I've got this one, this one, this one, and this one. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll just use that to map out where, and then sculpt from there. Right, so then I can go through and just be like, okay, this one comes in there, this one goes there, this one goes there, this one goes there. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to grab this inside piece, which is the rest of the glove up here, and I'm going to just push it in. Push it real good. Let's push it. And I think I'm actually probably ready to go up in resolution. Most of the secondary forms are already ready to go. I think maybe what I'll do is just work on the thumb tip real quick. Yeah, let's actually do that. Before we go too crazy, on this part, right? Because I'm losing, I don't have enough geo in there to really hold all that, and I don't want to go do it twice. So I'm just going to leave it as this is right here, as a map, and then I'm going to go do my secondary forms up through here really quickly. Alright, so there's a seam line that comes through here. Alright, I'm just going to vary this up because we have a lot of like push and pull and movement through the stitch there. Alright, and then now that I have this little bit of movements, I can actually good modeler doesn't think of shadow stage. What do you mean, Wackapy? I think you should always be looking at shadows, especially when you're looking at you're working on high res. So what I'm doing right now is I'm looking at this right here. So this shape around the fingertips is one of the big giveaways on first read of it looking like a glove and not like a hand. So I want to make sure that this silhouette reads like a thumbed glove, right? So it's not all nice and round like a regular thumb is. It actually has like all of these nice little shapes out here, right? And then we're going to have some like pushing and pulling tension coming from where those stitches are. So that's what I'm looking at here. I'm just doing some of the major forms. Yeah, very, very important. I would say uber important. So we've got a nice one coming through. We'll just save, guys. If you're working on something right now, save it. All right. So I'm looking at right here. So we've got this really nice fold coming through here that is actually moving that moving that stitch out, right? All right, so we've got this. We'll actually like really move that stitch out here like this because it's going to have a major fold that comes through here like this. There we go. Okay, then we got another one that comes through here like that. And then maybe what we'll do is we'll just take this whole piece in. What's up, sad someone? How you doing, man? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Okay, so we got this that comes down through here, and welcome. Oh, I gotta turn my intensity back up. So the nice thing is that you can change the intensity and everything of your smooth brush as well. So if I'm holding down shift and then I hit spacebar to bring up my little pop-up menu, it'll actually change the smoothing brush, right? So if I want to turn my intensity way down on my smoothing brush, I could do it that way. There we go. Alright, I'm just going to change the shape of this just a tad more. Alright, so basically then when you're looking at this, the silhouette very quickly will read that it's not a regular thumb, right? So actually let's pull this out a little bit. Alright, this is probably going to come in. We'll throw this guy out more. Like this. And we'll work on squaring this shape up a little bit more. Right, because this part of the glove is really nice and smooth because it's laying and being pulled against the hand. But this up here, there's no tension on the end of this, right? So that's why we got a lot of extra room to play with. You actually pull this in like that. Alright, what does the far read look like? So you notice I did the same thing with this one. So that's why these ones look a little bit weird, is because we haven't done that silhouette breakup yet. That's a good enough start. So let's actually take and let's Dynamesh this. We'll take it up to, let's see what this one's at, 512. We'll take this one up to 512. Okay. So I'm going to re-Dynamesh this, so it may stop the stream for half a second. So stay with me. Alright, save that. Okay. Alright, let's dynamesh. Okay. Well, we're all entitled to our opinion, Wackapy. All entitled to our opinion, man. Alright, so usually when I go up in res, I usually will just do a quick clay polish. I am on this one, right? Clay polish? Yeah, here we go. Let's clear that little mask that clay polish leaves. And then we'll go through and just kind of clean this up a little bit. There we go. Now I can start coming in and doing a little bit more of that fine detail. Right, I can start messing up these edges a little bit more now. Let's throw my intensity back up. Right, now we're getting some of that nice soft. There we go. Alright, so we'll go back and redefine this. Stitch line. You can also just hide everything else so we can get to it. There we go, that's a little bit better. Alright, so now we can actually go in and flush this part out as well. Yeah, just the thumb right now. Alright, so we've got small shape. So small shape that comes through here. A little bit bigger one. So maybe we'll go to 22. Comes through here. For this particular project, this is just a personal project. Something I'm working on just for this Pixelogic stream. But depending on how everything turns out, I probably will put it in my portfolio. Alright, so we're going to work on the other side too now, right? So we'll throw this in. Make sure that these pieces go in just as much. Look at the far read. Yeah, no problem, man. Like that. Yeah, that's a possibility, side gel. Yeah, so like what you're saying is you may have something like this. Yeah. I guess it all really depends on what your forte is. I think it's getting a little bit too lumpy now. Okay, so these folds would flatten a little bit more as they come in here, but I think would really round out as you get out a little bit, and then flatten out again out here. Alright. It really start pulling away out here. It's getting a little bit too lumpy, like right in here, so I want to make sure that that looks okay. Yeah, actually, absolutely, Sideshow. Yeah, I completely agree. Alright, so we've got more of a, oops, large fold coming in through here. I'm just going to, this is the underpiece, the hand. So I want to make sure that I don't go into the hand, right? There we go. There we go. It's feeling a little bit better. Alright, let's start working on this seam. This is really starting to bug me right now, so let's do that. Okay. You know, there's certain ways that you can give feedback. If one is constructive, and then the other one is destructive. And usually, if you're in the art industry, you understand the difference between constructive criticism and just criticism. So when you do have feedback, which I believe that if you're in the art industry, if you are an artist, if you cannot give or take, or let's say you can't take criticism, I think that you should work on the fact that you should be able to take criticism. However, there's certain things like constructive criticism that helps, and not just criticism that is there just to criticize. So when you do take the road of just criticizing and not having actual feedback, that's when it actually starts to look bad on you. So, if you do have constructive criticism, I'm always about to hear it. Always all about hearing it. However, if you just say things just to say things, then you're just looking for attention. There's no need for you to look for that kind of attention here. This is a constructive channel and a constructive industry. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, feel free to time out anybody that you feel is being a distraction. I have no problem with that. There's no room for just criticizing. If you have constructive criticism, awesome. If you're just looking for attention, you should go. because it's really distracting. Alright. So we're going to work on tightening this up just a little bit. Yep, this troll. Look, if here's the type of thing, right? So if you say something's bad, either you should give constructive criticism on how to try to make it better based on the fact that you have either done better or you have the knowledge of it, right? And you prove that by actually giving examples. And not just claims. Sora, what's up, dude? How you doing, man? Alright, let's work on this stitching area here now. Alright, so let's start mapping out how this stitch is going to work with this particular piece. So this, oops, we're still fairly low res on this piece. My tool palette back, there we go. Alright. So this is going to be a little bit tighter in here, so what I can do is probably just use like a pinch tool and tighten this up with a pinch tool. Like that. Okay. So yo, Vertigo, how you doing, man? How's life, brother? Alright, so let's start tightening up some of this detail in here as well. Xenology, what's up, man? How you doing? Alright, so let's throw some of this in there. Bring this out a little bit more. Okay. And then this, so the ridge on this particular one is a little bit higher than I want. So I have two choices, right? I can bring this outer piece back in, or I can work on this inner piece back coming out. So I think that's what I want to do. But I'm going to try, let's going to start with H polish here. I'm going to try to flatten this out a little bit more than it already is. And bring that in a little bit. Alright, and then this, we'll go ahead and just sculpt out a little bit here. I don't want that to have such a hard edge, so I'm just going to smooth it out a little bit. Okay. Yo, Sora, have you been doing much streaming lately, dude? I haven't seen you on very often anymore. Alright, I'm gonna pull this guy out just a little bit. Alright. Let me start working on the integration of this seam a little bit more. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. That's feeling better. Okay. So these folds I'm looking at. No, have not. Doing the art for like a week. Good. Brakes are important, man. Brakes are important. You can't push yourself too far for too long. I've seen too many people burn out in this industry, especially trying to. I've seen a lot of people that are been trying to break into the industry, and I was guilty of this too. It just work all the time. Um, it's not healthy. Got to be able to take a break and work with a clear mind, you know? Okay. That's good. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that these folds actually go through here as well. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of these stitches for now. So let's just turn those off. Yeah, dude, we'd all love to have you back on, man. We miss you, bruh. All right, so let's have these kind of go through here. Yo, Harley. DFXD. Which is that? I used to know that code for what bike that is, but I forgot. All right, so I think we're gonna have some of these actually moving through this whole piece here. At least if they're not large ones. Wide glide. Nice. Nice. That's what it is. I just got my mine actually not too long ago. Not my wide glide, but I have a street bob. Alright. Pull through here. Through here. AutoCAD? It could be. Yeah, the it's been super rainy here in California, so I'm waiting, man. I'm waiting. I'm waiting. All right. Almost riding season again. So I don't like how um, this is feeling right here, where like you're not really having the rise and fall of this. So I like sometimes just going in and giving it a little bit of fall off on the inside like this, just to give it a little bit more of a natural feeling here. Right, like that. Alright, you're done, dude. You ain't got time for that. You ain't got time for that here, man. Peace out, Wackapee. You are the weakest link. You've got your 2 minutes of fame. I hope you're happy. You're lucky not on my channel. I just banned you in the first place. We don't need time for that, man. There's enough negativity in the world. We don't need people like that. Okay. And then I think it's a little bit too thick, so I'm going to bring this in a little bit more. Alright, let's see how that's reading. It's good. So I want to think about how the material is different. Right, so this is a thinner material here, and this is a thicker material, right? So I want to make sure that whatever the folds are doing, that it's consistent with the type of material it's doing it to, right? So if this is a thicker material, we're not going to have all these nice little thin ones, right? We're just going to have kind of hints of them as it goes through. So if I pull this back a little bit, right, I'm thinking about the type of material that it is, right? So now it's you even see a little bit better now that it's acting differently, right? Yeah, I mean, if you've got criticism, like, dude, art is all about critiques, but the critique should be constructive, correct? If you're just saying things just to get a rise out of people, and just to make a statement like that, then you're not giving anything back to the community. You're actually making it worse. So. All right. Let's. All right, we can add like little small ones in there like that. And then maybe we'll start pinching some of these. Like that. Yeah, what's up, Grizzly Bear? How you doing? Alright. So I'm fairly happy with secondary forms on the inside. IFC minus these 2 fingers here, or those 3 fingers. Yo, Polygon Artist, how you doing, man? Okay. So one of the really nice subtle thing that's going on here in this area is you got super like micro folds happening, right? This is from like over time. But the other really cool thing that's happening is you can see this under piece like being represented underneath this piece, right? We have this nice little highlight coming through here. ZBrush, man, it's a great way to start your day. Should be a slogan. Start your day every day with ZBrush. Start your day every day with ZBrush in your cup. So what I want to do is I want to kind of like give a small hint of that happening, right? If I just give an ever so slight difference in that, look at that. Right? So it's paying attention to small little details like that that really help sell the realism. Yeah, that's the other thing too. Is like there's room for criticism in every single piece. Nothing's ever perfect, but you also like, you know, like if somebody isn't ready for a critique because it's work in progress, you know, you got to be able to respect that too. Alright, so I'm just going to kind of like hint just a little bit of some of those micro pieces through here. Yeah. That's actually, and then I guess it's good to know where to start these, right? So we're looking at from the knuckle through, from this knuckle to the first knuckle is usually where it is. Let's go ahead and mask this off over here. There we go. Now I can just, let's actually move my light a little bit so I can see. There we go. And then I try to vary up a little bit of not only the spacing but the angles and the depth. All right. Yo, Mariano, how you doing, man? Thanks, buddy. And then maybe I'll take my smoothing and then just pull some of these back a little bit. Even them out a little bit more. I mean, this is starting to get into a little bit more of the tertiary detail, but I like at least getting some of this in. Got a question. Can I the party submits for stream? So what exactly is the purpose of the glove? Are you going to turn it into game res? If so, isn't that amount of detail going to be too much? You know what I mean, right? Game res, kind of detail murder. No, actually, you know what? With current gen, this kind of detail is actually you'll be able to see. So. I try to for me it's better to put in a little bit more detail and then have some of it get lost than not put enough detail in to begin with and it looking bland later. So I'm focusing on a little bit more of like Call of Duty style, where like high res military, that kind of thing. It's going to be a PBR workflow with metal gloss, or I mean metal rough. So I tend to put in more detail, especially the sculptural detail in the beginning, because when I texture this in Substance Painter, a lot of the materials will actually feed off of these curvatures, right? So if I'm making a curvature map, it's going to pick up all these little nuances, and then the materials that I place on there will actually use this information. So even if you can't see it in the sculpt, you'll still be able to get your materials to feed off of it. So it's still super important to be able to have them in there. Yeah, exactly. Especially with first-person shooters. I'm just going to kind of let that round off. Yeah, absolutely, yeah. See? No problem. Right, so now we get like this really nice little hint that there's been like this. It's been used, right? This is not a brand new pair of gloves. So that's the type of thing that I want to keep going, right? And it's also texture testing too, right? Or like do I want to keep this style going? Is this a good method for the rest of it? Yeah, if you're looking at first-person shooter, like even your poly count allocation for the game res is going to be pretty high, and it will hold a lot of this detail. And I want a little bit more of the pinching start happening through here and kind of fading out a little bit more. So I'm making sure that all of this actually starts from the pinching area, which is in here, and fades out, right? For CSGO, I actually don't think that it's very... I mean, I don't really play it or watch it very much, but it seems kind of an old... Not necessarily current gen, so... Alright. So, this varying thickness here, for this particular piece, I'm just going to make sure that this follows that a little bit more. Make sure that stays relatively consistent. Yes, I'll be doing this the texturing in Substance Painter, but I won't be doing the texturing on the Pixelogic channel. I probably will do it on my own personal channel. So on the Pixelogic channel, I'll be doing everything in my pipeline that I use ZBrush for, which is doing the high-res sculpt, doing the retopo prep by decimation, and then I'll also do the baking prep as well. So I'll cover all that still on Pixelogic's channel, and then once I get past that part, I'll take this through final on my personal channel. So if you guys aren't following my personal channel, check it out. Check it out. Also, which reminds me, if you're not following Pixelogic's channel, give it a follow. Got a lot of awesome artists coming up. Later today, we've got Ashley Adams, really awesome creature sculptor, an all-around person. So she's going to be coming up later today. We've got a lot of awesome artists that are streaming here, so definitely follow the Pixelogic Twitch channel here. They're part of the Drops Market. Oh, yeah, okay. Yep. Okay. Alright, so let's just make sure this one's high. Yeah, let's go at least 256. I think we can get it. Let's try 256 on this guy. Let's save first. If you guys are working on something, save it. Save it! Sorry, Jens. Is it possible to upgrade from ZBrush Core to the full version? I am not sure. I don't think so. I think it's different. But that's a really good question to ask the actual ZBrush guys. And if you're interested, there is a free trial for ZBrush. And I think the button's like right down there somewhere. But it was this is probably one of the best investments in software that I've had. Worth absolutely every single penny. But if you're not ready for the full version, there is the ZBrush Core, which is a really, really great starting point. If you want to just get in and start playing around, it's a little bit easier entry level, but obviously it has doesn't have all the bells and whistles that the full one does. You managed to really dive into it. Eventually, you want to fun per dollar. I like that, Sigil. Alright, so I'm going to continue. Let's see. You know, now that I look at it, these ones should probably go all the way through because they're going to continue here. You know what? I may put that up to 512. Let's do that real quick. It doesn't really matter the resolution. You can just, it's a slider. But I don't know, for my own particular purposes, I like staying within the 4.8, 16, 64, 128, 256, 512, 1024, 2048, 4096. I like staying within those. Just because my brain's weird, I guess. Alright, so now I think it'll hold this a little bit better. Yeah, there we go. Oh, cool. Thanks for helping him out, guys. Appreciate it. You do the same thing? Okay, it's not me just being crazy. That's awesome. That's so great to hear. I think there's only so much room in Creative Brain for information, and I find that if I can simplify a lot of things, it's just much easier for me. So that's one of the things that I simplified. All right, so now we're getting the idea that okay, this is a worn glove. It's not brand new. We've got a lot of old wrinkling happening, right? And that's really what I want to keep. It's the feeling that I want. It's the feeling that I want. I'm going to bring this guy over a bit. So when I bring this guy over, there we go. Okay, cool. I definitely feel better. Alright, let's switch back to damn standard. And let's just start just mapping in some of these wear areas. Areas. Alright, and then we got a lot that kind of comes through here. Alright, and then I also want to make sure that I vary these up a little bit so they're not just so exactly the same. Alright, so maybe I'll go through with a particular size. Oops. Like this. Smooth it out a little bit. Just trying to keep it nice and organic feeling. And random, right? So maybe I'll come up and do a couple of larger ones. Alright. Connect some of these. It's basically skin, right? It's leather. And then maybe I'll do some larger ones where like we kind of get this happening. We get a little bit deeper coming through here. And again, I'm thinking about that layered cake effect, right? So I want to make sure that I don't do one here, right? Where this size, this distance is the same as this distance, right? It starts to look a little bit more fake, right? So I want to make sure that I have that's varied, right? And then maybe the length is varied as well. Alright, so now we start getting that really nice, just super subtle, but it tells your eye that, you know, it's got some history to it. You know, I'm going to probably end up doing the same thing here. I like that where the depth is varied a little bit as well. Maybe on some of these larger ones. Just to start breaking up and adding a little bit more of that shadow density, right? Making sure that it's varied enough. Let's just get rid of that one altogether. It's a little bit too much. Alright, so it's really starting to get some nice weathered look going on. And there's different ways that you can do this too. I probably should have started putting these on layers. Let's just add a little bit more in here, and then I don't want to get into. So I'm already starting to get into like final tertiary details. even telling myself that I do, I still do it. That's all right though. Okay, so that's good. All right, let's work on. So we got about another 10 minutes. Yeah, we'll keep trucking. Keep trucking. So I've only been probably working on this, I think, 2, 4, 6, 7 hours. But streaming hours. So cut that in half by chatting and teaching and everything like that. So I'm probably about, if I was in actual work, this would probably be about 4 hours in. Yeah, about 4 hours. Okay, so let's. Actually, I'm gonna actually work a little bit more on this. You know what? This guy can go up to 512 now, I think. So let's dupe this guy first. Grab this guy, which is the new one. I'm going to turn the old one off so that if I need to go back to it, I still have my history. So I'm going to work on the new one, and then I'm going to take this one up to 512. And then hold tight if the stream pauses. Nope, it did. Okay, good. Alright, so we'll do a quick clay polish. There we go. Clear the mask. Alright, what I really want to start doing is start beefing up some of the edges here. Alright, so if we look at this here, right, so it's these edges that I want to start kind of messing up a little bit. And it's really, the reason why I'm doing a little bit more of the smaller details right now is that it's kind of testing out what my process is going to be for doing the rest of everything. So sometimes I'll do that where I'm still kind of working in secondary forms, but I'll test out certain little areas on my methodology for how I want to do all the small details so that I can think about that as I'm going through the rest of it and doing finishing all the secondary forms. So that I can prep for it, not only mentally, but in the actual model. Alright, so we've got this little area for the stitches that comes through here. Let's move my light back. There we go. Right, so this is where the stitches will sit. And then we're going to start beating up some of the edges here. Yeah, I know, right? Under Armour sales just went up. Why the hell is everybody has been buying these gloves lately? I wonder why. Alright, so we're going to come in and break this up. Maybe I'll use H polish. Actually, you know what? For things like this, I usually like trim dynamic. So let's make sure that the height of these in these areas are good. I just want to pull it out just enough and make it there we go. Alright, so I want this to be kind of a curved. Throw that in there. And then let's go back to trim dynamic. They're actually sold out of them? Oh yeah, that's hilarious. So I'm just going to come in here and just kind of like beat up these edges a little bit just so they're not so crazy consistent. But not too much. That's hilarious that they're sold out right now. It's probably my fault. So now I can either come back in here like kind of by hand and start doing a little bit of this, or I can get creative and start using some alphas and stuff, which I think I may do. So this is kind of just testing, right? This is my testing phase for like how I'm going to handle like all of these ones over here and all that, right? Maybe I actually want to use displace instead. Displace is usually pretty good for like pushing and pulling a lot more. And we'll turn this up. Yeah, but maybe I want to use a different alpha though. Maybe I want to use like this alpha. Right, we can start beating up a little bit of that. Maybe my smooth intensity is a little bit too strong. Alright, so I'm going to alternate in between pushing and pulling. Right. Smooth it out. Alternate between pushing and pulling. Smooth it out. Alright, so start beating it up just a little bit. And you're giving some wear and tear. Maybe some places more than others, you know? Like where it'll more tear be than other places, right? Probably right around this area, right where you close, like if this is going around the gun, like this would be one of the corners of the pistol grip, right? So try to keep those things in mind too, you know, like the actual application of how and where things would happen. Right? It's super subtle, but those types of things, like once you start getting in close, it's those little things that just sell it, right? $8 o'clock. Do you know where your ZBrush is? Yeah, maybe we'll come in here and add a little bit more of these secondary details on top of all that, right? It's really kind of like about, like when you're doing like more realistic stuff, it's really about kind of layering. Let's go back to displace here. Alright, so I gotta actually start wrapping up here for the day. We can have some of these kind of go through here as well too. Any questions before I leave and be on my merry way? Happy to answer any of those. So the plans for this, in case you haven't heard yet, we'll continue this piece all the way through the final high res, and then we'll do retopo prep with Decimation Master, and then we'll do the high res bake prep as well. Maybe we'll turn on those stitches again. Let's see what those look like. Stitches, is it made from the mesh caused the ID map? So yeah, the reason why I did the stitches as actual geometry is because I plan to assign a color to them and then use them, bake those into the ID map. So instead of actually sculpting it in, James, dude, just in time to catch the end of the stream, dude. So the reason why I didn't sculpt them in is because I want to have these as a separate material. So knowing that I'm going to use that method downstream helps me determine whether I'm going to sculpt them in or actually use geometry. So in this case, I'm definitely going to be using geometry because I want to assign a different material to them. So decimate doesn't really, I don't really care for the decimation. My only poly count that I really care about is what the final what the final game res is going to be. Probably, I don't know, whatever will hold, whatever will hold it, I guess. Nothing crazy, not like 50K or anything like that. Nothing too crazy. Maybe 1,000 or so. So I think what I would do is, if I'm looking at thinking about what the final poly count for the in-game model would be, things I would consider is what the full here's the first thing I would consider. Is this a first-person shooter game? Is it a third-person over-the-shoulder game? Is it a mobile game? Is it a current-gen game? Is it, what's the actual application that it's going to be in? If it is, let's say it's first-person shooter, right? So first-person, you can basically get almost as close to anything in the game as you can, right? So it'll fill up most of the screen. So it's about, how big will this thing be on the screen at any given time? What's the biggest it will be on screen? So let's say this is 1920 by 1080. Let's say you'll never get any closer than, say, this on screen at any given time. Well, how many pixels is that, right? So that's, right, from here to here is 1080, right? So you're looking at probably like at least, I don't know, 900 pixels, right? So you definitely can't go under 1K maps. I would definitely probably do this at a 2K map, at least 2K map. Probably at most 2K map. But then the other thing I want to consider is what characters are going to go on. Is this a main character? Is this a background character? What's the overall target poly count for the character on a whole, right? So if I'm going to say like 60 to 70,000 polys for the character, right? Then I would say, all right, well, I would probably want 20,000 for the head, and then that would leave me at another, say, 50,000 for the body, and then you say 50,000 for the body. Probably maybe 2,000 for a hand. So it's those types of things that I take into consideration of what the poly count should be, right? Just start from the top and kind of work back down to where the small little piece that you're at, Yeah, it's not a cinematics thing, right? So that's another good point, James, is like, is it a game version, game res? Is it cinematics? Is it, a pre-rendered? Or is it a game cinematic, right? So all those things are to be considered for how you build the particular thing. So in this particular case, it's going to be the in-game model, PBR texturing of 60 to 70,000 model character for the full character. It'll be probably more of a hero asset, or hero character, so it's going to be a little bit more of the higher range current gen consoles and PC. And then I would just delineate down from the total to about what a hand would be on that particular model. Yeah. Yeah. All right, boys and girls, ladies and Germans. We've got some good testing going on today. We fixed a lot of these issues that were happening in there. We got a good feel of how to do the overall wear and tear. Fairly happy with the proportions. And yeah, we'll keep going. We'll keep going on it. So I will be back probably in a couple weeks, and then we'll pick up there where we are now. So I'm going to be doing all the work for this high res on stream. So if you guys want to go back to some of the other ones, the Pixelogic site should have the Twitch page here should also have previous streams. You could also check out some of the other broadcasters that have past streams as well. Make sure to stick around tonight for Ashley Adams. She's going to be doing some awesome stuff. And if you're interested in trying out ZBrush, there is a free trial button, I think, just below here. Yeah. I hope you guys had fun. I hope you guys learned a couple things. But most of all, I hope you were inspired to go make your own cool stuff. So go make some cool stuff. And I will see you guys soon. Late.